Jai Radha Madhava Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasodananda Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahangsa Brahmadakasharya Asadhara Sadhu Shri Shriman His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribas Slava Zabrani Bhakta Slava Shri Guru Shri Gurangi Om Aganatunandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vasakans Vitam Sha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabando Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakapa Trivyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patiranam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitinanda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 3. Which text is it? 32. Ye tveta abhyasuyanto nanotishtanti me mitam sarvagyana vimudam stan Virinashtana Chetasaha Ye Tvetaravya Nanutishati Memitam Sarvagyana Vimudam Stan Virinashtana Chetasaha Ye Tvetaravya Suyanto Nanutishtanti me matam Sarvagyana vimudam stan Virinashtana chetasaha Ye Tvetaravya Suyanto Nanutishtanti me matam Sarvagyana vimudam stan Virinashtana Chetasaha. Ladies. Ye Tvetaravya Suyanto Nanutishati me matam Sarvagyana vimudam stan Virinashtana Chetasaha. Yea, those, to, however, etat, this, abhyasuyantaha, out of envy, na, do not, anutishtanti, regularly perform, may, my, vatam, injunction, sarvagyana, and all sorts of knowledge. Vimudan, perfectly befooled. Tan, they are. Vedi, know it well. Nashtan, all ruined. Achetasa, without Krishna consciousness. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. For those who out of envy disregard these teachings, do not follow them, are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. Purport. The floor of not being Krishna conscious is clearly stated herein, as there is punishment for disobedience to the order of the Supreme Executive Head, so there is certainly punishment for disobedience to the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A disobedient person, however great he may be, is ignorant of his own self and of the Supreme Brahman, Paramatma, and the Personality of Godhead, due to a vacant heart. Therefore, there's no hope of perfection of life for him. Etvetadabhyasuyanto nanatishnati me matam sarvagyana vimudhamstam didi nashtana chetasaha. For those who out of envy disregard these teachings, do not follow them, and to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Buddhaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Pasketyade Siddharne. Krishna said a similar thing in the 16th chapter. Where he said, Tadaham Dvishata Kuran Samsareshu Naradamam Shipram Yadrasram Ashubham Asrishveva Yonishu. Tadaham Dvishata Kuran Samsareshu Naradamam Shipram Yadrasram Ashubham Asrishveva Yonishu. Asrim Yoni Apnam Buddha Janmani Janmani Mama Prapyaiva Kontiya Tato Yantyadamam Gitim. Those who are envious and mischievous, the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the lower species of life. Upon attaining the lower species of life, they never asram yona apana muda janmani janmani. Life after life, they gradually sink down to the most abominable state of existence. Trividan narakasyedam dwaram nashitam atmanaha kama krodha tatalovas tasmad etam trayam chajat. There are three gates leading to hell, namely lust, anger, and greed. Every sane person should become free from these three gates because they lead to the degradation of the self. Etera vimukta kontiya tamo rastraviva nara atrat demmanashrayas tato param gitim. That anyone who becomes free from these three gates performs activities conducive to self-realization, and thus he gradually attains the supreme destination. Yakshasra vidim usrija vartate kamakarata nisasudim avapnoti nasukam naparam gitim. That those who give up the Shastra and act according to lust, anger, and greed can have neither peace, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. Yakshasra tasmat shastram pramanam te karya karya vyastito kyatva shastra vidanoktam karma kartam viharasi. One should know what is duty and what is not duty by the directions of Shastra, and knowing such regulations one should act so that one can gradually become purified. In other words, Krishna says about his teachings, that's called Shastra. What Krishna spoke is written down, and that becomes Shastra. And this is the teachings. Therefore, everyone has a choice at every moment. Either we can follow Krishna's direction, or we'll have to be under the spell of lust, or anger, or greed, or madness, or illusion, or envy. We have no other choice. We have to follow superior direction. If we don't have the intelligence to take shelter of Krishna's directions, then the mind and the senses will direct our intelligence to ignore Krishna's directions. Therefore, Krishna says, Abhajananti mamudha manushim tanum ashrityam param bhavam ajananto mamabhuta maheshwaram. That the fools, they deride at my descending in this human-like form. They don't know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. In other words, they cannot conceive of a God who can control the finite and the infinite at the same time, who can actually be everywhere and at the same time appear as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. Especially because modern society is such that it has become very technologically orientated, and they think they're advancing by machines. Their consciousness, although it's diminishing, they think by technological advancement, this is advancement of civilization. Because their leaders are Maya Pritagyanas, their intelligence has been stolen by illusion. Therefore, they don't really know, Nate Vidu Swartakatim He Vishnu, they don't know what the goal of life is. They think the goal of life is to gratify their senses until the end of life. They can't conceive of anything beyond that. Anything beyond that they think is mythology, is a dream. Therefore, they're always, their intelligence being in the mode of ignorance, they think what is to be done is not to be done, and what is not to be done they think is what's to be done. And therefore they always strive in the wrong direction. The example I gave is the Mardi Gras in America, in Louisiana, a city called New Orleans. Every year they have this festival that lasts for a week, and 2 million people or more come to it. And during the festival, they have speakers all around the city blasting rock music. And it's a festival for a marathon to see how many sinful activities people can commit per day, if they can break last year's record. Therefore, they're eating animals on the street, having sex, taking intoxication, gambling, and so much noise. So one day the devotees decided to come out and be merciful and have Harinam on the street during Mardi Gras. So as soon as the devotees came out onto the street and started to chant Hare Krishna, immediately the police came and arrested them for disturbing the peace. Put them in jail until the end of the Mardi Gras, where they could be let out so they wouldn't disturb the peace anymore. So this is called, as Prabhupada was, I remember I was in 1974 I went to India for the Temple President's meeting, the first one we had there. And during the, Prabhupada was there in Mayapur, and he asked the devotees to go to Mumbai, at that time it was Bombay, in order to do Harinam in protest, because the chief police in Mumbai was declaring that this chanting of Hare Krishna is a nuisance. So Prabhupada didn't like that very much. So he had all the Westerners go, as many as possible, to Mumbai and do a Harinam there in protest. That even in India, supposed to be the place of Krishna's appearance, they're considering that, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, that chanting the holy name is a nuisance. In any case, this is called viparitam scha. They don't know what's to be done, and they don't know what's not to be done. Matter of fact, they think religion to be irreligion, adharma iti dharma, adharma iti dharma scha, mandite tamasavrita, tamasam viparitam scha, buddhisapartha tamasi. They think religion is actually irreligion, and they think irreligion is religion. And Therefore, they always strive in the wrong direction. Because they're envious of Krishna, therefore, when they see Krishna as Krishna as an ordinary person, and they see some ordinary person as being God. Because they think by the blessings of the ordinary person, we can become God. That's what's being promised. But God never promises that you become the real God never promises you can become God, so therefore he has no real value to us. Therefore Krishna says, they can't understand how someone can control the infinite and the finite at the same time, how with intelligence the planets are moving their orbits, how we're eating food, it's being digested, assimilated, and the unnecessary parts are being eliminated. They can't conceive that it's all by a divine arrangement, that these things are going on. They think it's all by accident. So that way they can take control of the accident. They say it's an accident, but if everything, so many wonderful things came about by accident, that why don't they stay at home and by accident they'll get their PhD degree? Why should they work so hard by accident? Why don't they just stay at home? Maybe out of nothing, they'll be benedicted with millions of dollars or euros. Why do they work so hard if everything's an accident? So they don't really believe everything's an accident. When they want to get something, they don't try to get it by accident, hope it'll be achieved by accident. They work to get it. They use their intelligence to get whatever they want. So if a big universe has come about, so intelligently arranged, then how can we say it came about by an accident? An intelligent person created it. Scientists can't even create one little sun and put it over the North Pole and help out the Eskimos. With all their so-called intelligence, they can't even create a sun the size of a light bulb and have it circulate into this room and save us so much electricity and heating. That way, wherever you go, you'll have your little India there, because you'll have your little sun with you. At night, you can put a little shade in front of it to block out the sun. And in the morning, you take it away, and the whole room becomes bright again, and heat it up nicely. They can't even do that, and yet the big sun, they say, is by accident. So how do they know it came about by accident if they can't even create a little sun with all their intelligence? So all they're doing is bluffing. They don't have no idea how the sun works. I remember 40 years ago I read an article, and it said that we've learned more about the sun than all the other planets in the universe in the last 10 years. Unfortunately, we've just discovered that everything we learned about the sun was wrong. But don't worry, because now we have positive proof of the possible existence of black holes. And that's called science. How to cheat people. Oh, that's really profound. Positive proof of the possible existence. Therefore, Krishna says, Mogaisha Moga Karmano, Moga Jnana Vichetasaha, Rakshasiyam Asrim Chaiva, Prakriti Mohanim Shita. Therefore, those who deride Krishna and therefore neglect his instructions, who can't even understand that the body's changing, but they're not changing, that Krishna's, so what? So he said something intelligent. Aboriginal cowherd boy said something intelligent, that the body's changing, but the soul doesn't change. Something that the biggest philosophers in these renowned universities don't even understand. Yet a 5-year-old child could understand. They're supposed to be so learned, but they can't even understand that their body's changing, but they're not changing. Yet this aboriginally cowherd boy, Krishna, he says that from the very beginning. And he talks about how our consciousness becomes covered over by different states of being, like lust, anger, and greed. He lifts up Govardhan Hill, and yet Kangsa declares it's only a little pebble he lifted up. Whatever he does, they minimize. Whatever they do, they maximize. They become God because they supposedly put a little satellite in orbit. But the big God who's put all these planets in orbits, that doesn't really count. So, their hopes of liberation, the culture of knowledge, their fruitive activities are all defeated. Because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They deride Krishna, and therefore they can't understand Bhagavad Gita. Therefore Prabhupada says there are different types, agyas chastradhanascha, samshayatma vinashati, nanyam lokasti na paro, nasukam samshayatmana. That ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures go to ruin and perish. For the doubting soul, there's happiness neither in this world nor in the next. And Prabhupada said there are some persons who are like animals. They have no idea that there's such a thing as scripture. Therefore, they don't even know that they're eternal. Therefore, they're just like animals. Their only aim of life is to eat, sleep, mate, and defend. Are you crying for them? There are others who they have some faith in scripture. They can quote Shastra, but they don't believe in any of it. There are others who have faith in Shastra, but they have no faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there are others who have some faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they absolutely refuse to render any service to Him. So of all the faithless people, those who have no knowledge are in the worst position whatsoever. But that makes up most people at the present time. And then Prabhupada writes that the greatest sinful activity is actually to deny the existence of Krishna and become an impersonalist. This is in the 7th chapter, verse number 28. The impersonal do not know that forgetting their constitutional position as subordinate to the Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. Unless one is reinstated in his own constitutional position, it's not possible to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead or to be fully engaged in His transcendent loving service with determination. So the miscreants, those who are foolish, those who are envious, those whose knowledge of, those who are sinful, and let's see, we have the foolish, we have the lowest among men. I don't think that's where it's described. Oh, sinful. We have the foolish, the sinful, what is the other word probably leaves us there? The 4 kinds of people who never approach Krishna. Those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish, and deceitful. What's that? Here Prabhupada calls them deceitful. They act as if they know something, but they're in ignorance. So they never surrender to Krishna. Therefore, though they may have some superficial knowledge of Brahman, but even they reach Brahman, rarely do they do that. Still they fall down again. Therefore, whether one is a materialist or impersonalist, it's more or less, they all get the same result, repeated birth and death. Although they think they're making progress and achieving something, but all they're doing is progressing in the cycle of birth and death from one form to the next, and then falling back again. Therefore, Mahatmanas tumam parata devim prakritim ashitya bhajanya nanya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyam. Those who are great souls, Mahatmas, who are under the spiritual energy, they're engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Mogaisha moga ka'am. Sadadam kirtiyanto mam yatantas chadridavritaha namasyantas shmam bhaktya nityukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So a simple process, chanting Hare Krishna, glorifying Krishna, trying to do it with some determination, with some humility, and then they're under the internal energy of Krishna. While great so-called great philosophers like Prahladananda Saraswati, they derided Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as being a sentimentalist and criticized him. And of course, Prahladananda Saraswati, he developed leprosy because of that, because of blaspheming Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But later on he surrendered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he heard the Vedanta Sutra's explanation from him. Him and his 60,000 followers all surrendered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the process is actually simple, and those who take it, they're benedicted, and those who don't take the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra in this age, they'll be doomed. So it may seem fair or unfair, but that's the way things go. So I'll stop there. Any questions? I can hear the clock, so everyone's thinking really deeply. Can you hear the clock? Yes.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. So, my question is, how can we actually get above these three gates that leads to hell, like anger, lust, and greed? Because I think like every day there's some challenges that come to my mind, or just some challenges in life I experience that are connected with these three things. Yeah.
Therefore we have sadhana bhakti. We have a regulated life, a sadhana bhakti, so that every day we get a little infused. What's that?
Can I translate?
Okay, yeah, sure. We have to use our intelligence and focus in on Krishna. At least, even though it may not be so dramatic, but when we chant, we have to listen. And when someone's speaking, then we have to listen to them. If we're listening, then all this tendency towards lust, anger, and greed will diminish. So we have to learn how to chant and hear with attention. Then gradually we'll become purified by associating with Krishna through his holy names and through the philosophy about him. It may take some time, but gradually a little bit. Every day we'll become purified. Therefore, it's good to have sadhana bhakti, to follow sadhana bhakti. Chant a regulated number of rounds a day, come to the Mangala Arati, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, worship the deities, do some service to the devotees in a regulated way. And therefore, as we fill in the gaps, then the gaps of lust, anger, and greed will gradually diminish. Kamarinam katidas durlibaishas tesham mayi jatana karunana prashanti utsridatam yatpate lababudis tam arunam. So when devotees praying, Kamadina, for so long I've been serving lust, anger, greed, and all the coloraries. Kamarinam katida katida dorliva veshas. Very difficult masters. And although I've been serving them so faithfully, they've never been merciful to me, nor do they ever tell me I get a break from their service. Na karuna, they're not merciful, not trapa, not karuna, no pashanti. They never leave me alone, and they always bother me. But with Sri Jaitam, with Sri Jaitam, Karanam, Yatapatam, Labha Buddhis. But now I've obtained some intelligence through the process of devotional service, and now I'm giving them up and surrendering unto you, my dear Lord. So hearing, trying to get some intelligence, trying to discriminate what's spiritual consciousness and what's material consciousness, and therefore elect spiritual consciousness. Get into the habit of electing spiritual consciousness, seeing things spiritually rather than materially. Anything else? Hwala, Granthara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Haribo.
I don't know exactly where it is. It's next to Borisov. Somewhere next to Borisov.
koliko ljudi spustiš signala, no? Gospod Mirec to, kdo je fotografiral Duh, ne? Je pa posel, več takole, da bi se paše njegov. To je paše pa pa Duh, ne? To je posel, in to imam tisto Duh, da je tudi paket, ne? Da ti ne pa tukaj, da je tukaj, da ti fotografiral,